The U.S. President Donald Trump says Russia will not attack a NATO country, playing down media reports that CIA Director John Ratcliffe warned Russian officials against such an attack earlier in the week. Now, Trump's latest comments came as the U.S. reviews its presence in Europe and informs NATO allies that it wants to see a European-led defense of the continent. While Trump told Axios in a phone interview that he believes Russian President Vladimir Putin will not attack a NATO country. He repeated that CIA Director John Ratcliffe, who flew to Russia to meet briefly with intelligence counterparts, had not been dispatched to deliver any particular message. He later repeated his claim when asked about it. Listen to this.
Committed to not attacking a NATO territory.
I've had good talks with him. He's not going to be attacking a NATO territory.
Now, Trump's comments came after U.S. media reported that Ratcliffe had traveled to Moscow to warn Russia of any attack on a NATO member. Now, the Wall Street Journal is now reporting that Ratcliffe was sent on a secret mission, keeping even some senior White House and military officials out of the loop. Ratcliffe's main message was that the U.S. remains committed to NATO's Article 5 and that Moscow should not test the alliance. A senior EU official said European intelligence agencies see no sign of Russia planning a military attack on European NATO countries for now. However, the official, speaking on condition of anonymity, noted there is no doubt that Russia is still actively trying to create difficulties for NATO nations. And while adding to the tension, Russia has warned it could retaliate against the UK for its support of Kiev by striking military targets inside and outside Ukraine. Britain's Prime Minister Andy Burnham said that this week that the UK would allow Kiev to access to classified technology to start its own production of Storm Shadow long-range cruise missiles, while France has already agreed to supply missile technology. Now, Maria Zakharova, Russia's foreign ministry spokesperson, said on Thursday that Britain and France were playing with fire. Meanwhile, the Pentagon's policy chief Elbridge Colby told NATO members on Thursday that the alliance must adapt and that he wants to hear from allies as part of a review of U.S. forces in Europe. He explained the review was meant to enable a more European-led defense of the continent. Washington announced a 6-month review of U.S. troops deployments in Europe in June and recently sent NATO members a questionnaire covering issues ranging from defense spending to strategy procurement and support for U.S. foreign policy priorities. Now, according to Reuters, the review will create at least 4 sets of options for Defense Secretary, or rather, Pete Hegseth by November 6th. Well ahead of a December deadline for its completion. The process has fueled questions among European officials about whether the U.S. administration intends to use the review as a genuine consultation, a symbolic gesture, or a negotiating tactic.